Jeremy, what do you consider a productive day?
I serve other people. I'm a consultant. And so when I am helping people to reduce stress, tension, anxiety, helping them shift their belief systems, expand what's possible in their model of the world, those are really cool days. Every night we do a magic moment with my wife and daughter. It's like, what was your magic moment for the day? And we do it at dinner. That way, if there was nothing magical, let's go make some magic. There's a pool, there's a park. Let's get out there in the world and do something.
So a magical moment is the best part of anyone's particular day.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us what last night's magical moments were for you and your family.
Let's see. For my daughter, it was dinner because she got to have not Wiener Schnitzel, but it was like a schnitzel basically. So she got to have that. And then that was her magic moment because to her, it's like a giant chicken nugget. It's a giant flat chicken nugget. It's pork, but whatever.
How could you go wrong? That sounds awesome.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. That was her magic moment. And then my wife and I, we had a coffee date like in the middle of the day. And instead of going and getting coffee, we went and got a banh mi, which is a Vietnamese sandwich. And then we got a boba, so a milk tea with tapioca pearls.
Well, that sounds good.
So yeah, it was a little mini date in the middle of the day. That was nice.
Do you cook much at the house, or is it pretty much the wifey?
No, I do the bulk of the cooking. She does the organizing. We tag team the groceries as a team effort.
What have you eaten today, for instance?
Today, we will have a nicer dinner tonight, but today, a couple of frozen burritos, that protein bar just a second ago.
Do you guys kind of swing in all directions when it comes to food? Not any one particular kind of lifestyle or diet?
It's interesting that my wife, I was told when I married her, I was told by her family she's picky about food, or she's particular. And it's, no, she likes food that's like fresh versus out of a box or reheated or out of a can.
So she's not going to be one who's going to swing with a frozen burrito.
She can. She's got the practicality side, which is nice. But like she also eats snails, which she never had before she met me. Our daughter was eating snails at 5 years old, and we're not French, but just garlic butter and yumminess. How could you go wrong? We're equal opportunity. I grew up internationally, so a lot of Middle Eastern food, Asian food, European variety of stuff. So we've always kind of been open to culinary experiences because there's so much flavor in the world and so many people just stick with such a small, narrow band. Not that that's wrong per se, but my wife actually has a thing she calls a no thank you bite, which is every meal you have to eat at least a no thank you bite of everything because your palate changes and you might not like this now, but you might like it later. And our daughter's had a couple of things. She's getting back into corn now because she got away from corn with her teeth were all doing their goofiness. And now she's pretty much got her adult teeth. And we had corn on the cob for the first time this year, last night. And she was like, oh, this is good. I think I like this. I need a little more butter. This was really good.
Is the no thank you bite based on educating or training your daughter's palate?
A little bit of both. Yeah. Because, like a lot of parents, they're like, oh, my kid doesn't like blah. Well, we just called everything chicken, right? The salmon is pink chicken and pork is white chicken and then steak is brown chicken and then chicken is chicken. And we just called everything, oh, yeah, no, you like that. That's just brown chicken. And our daughter would be like, oh, okay. And then she would eat it. And then she liked it. And we just moved on because the label, well, I mean, we called it brown chicken. Other people might call it steak, right? Because she's, 4, 5, 6. She doesn't care the label, the nomenclature. Our confidence and you have to take it a thank you bite. And we demonstrate that because there's some foods my wife doesn't like, but now she does. She didn't like guacamole and avocado once upon a time. Now she does. She didn't like wasabi. Now she does because your palate changes. It's okay. Broccoli made me want to gag as a kid. The feel of it in my mouth. My mom overcooked it, so it was mush and just like. And I remember my dad and I used to get into fights. Like my dad would just rage because I was like, don't do that at the dinner table. How dare you? All this stuff. And I didn't know how to explain. It just feels wrong in my mouth in a way he could get it. So with our kids, it's like, hey, you don't have to like it, but you do have to finish that bite. It's only like 1 or 2 chomps and it's gone. But you may like it. Your mouth changes. It's okay. And because we're kind of easier to be calm and open.
A couple of moments ago, you said you grew up internationally. Does that mean you grew up around the world, or you internationally so much as your palate and food style choices?
We were military. So
Okay.
Turkey, Saudi, we visited Greece, Spain, Italy, Venice. We went to Thailand on the way back from the Middle East because it was easier to go east than it was to go west. So we went to like Thailand, the reclining Buddha, Japan, Hawaii, and then back to the States. So yeah, growing up, Lebanese food's just freaking amazing. And I go places where they're making tabbouleh and it has celery in it. No, that's not okay. Like, take that out.
You mentioned that you're a kung fu master. Is that what you said
Hmm.
your discipline was?
Yes, sir.
So is this something that you do on a competitive level, or is it more about discipline and staying in shape and that kind of thing?
All the things. Yeah, I used to. I mean, back in the 2000s, I was a national champion or national champion competitor. And it got to the point, like, for me to continue to grow my skill, either I go like higher level competition, which, more risk of injury, or I start teaching. And so I chose to focus on teaching. By and large, in the Chinese culture, once you start teaching martial arts, that becomes your focus rather than so much competing for yourself. Partly because your focus should be your students and cultivating the next generation. Partly because it looks bad if you're going to be an instructor and then you go compete and you get your head handed to you in a fight. It's very hard for your students to be proud. My just lost. Yay.
What makes kung fu so special as a fighting discipline versus things that are pretty much more on the tip of our tongue, karate or judo, and what differentiates those?
Okay, on a technical level, so Chinese martial arts, Ti Da Sui Na. Ti is kicking, Da is striking, Na is controlling, so joint locks, submissions, breaks, chokes, and then Sui is unbalancing, so sweeps, throws, and takedowns. And inside the world of Chinese martial arts, you have to have all four skills. Now, different families will excel at different things. So if you look at like Taekwondo as a Korean system, well, it's a lot of kicking. Boxing, more Western European, that's a striking system. But in our context, if all they do is one skill set, it's not a complete system, it's a style. It's a sport focused on a specific area because bad guy's going to hurt you. If they know you can't kick, they might stay out and kick you instead. If they know you can't strike, they might kick you or they might grab you. It's all grappling. And so that right, like a complete way of thinking, individual people, their personality, they will excel in a skill or two, and that becomes their style. But it's really, we study like the human system because you're fighting another human being, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, a torso. There's only so much we can do with that. And so in the Chinese martial arts, there's that baseline, Ti Da Sui Na, kick, strike, control, takedowns. And then you map on top of that various strategies, various approaches. And then we call those different, animal systems. There's tiger and crane and monkey. And we're going to do all these other embedded skills after you know how to fight. But 10 years I train you to look like a monkey, you still don't know how to punch. That's a problem. In our system, there's only one human system because there's one human species and there's 8 billion styles because every single human being is their own style. It's all fantastic. It's all good experience because it's all self-knowledge when you put yourself in a conflict. So we have military training for combat and self-defense, and then we have mixed martial arts, sports, and competition. Rules, safety gear, weight classes, medical staff. You fight somebody about your size and experience. Real self-defense, none of that stuff applies. Big people want to go find small people, smash their head into the ATM and rob them when they're not looking.
Hey, Jeremy, I was just wondering, have you ever done any background on your surname?
It's German from Rottruck. There's this area in Germany. There's actually a Rottruck winery that we're somehow related to. But the Rothrocks, the Sears and Roebuck, Rothrock, Radruck, Rottruck, these names come from this area. We've got like in the 1800s, some road trucks came over, but it was Radruck, Raadruck. Yeah, there's only about 300-ish road trucks. I'm the only Jeremy that we know of. We've got this big thick family Bible. Like my dad's like super geeked into genealogy. It's the coolest. It's really cool to see. Like he's been researching it and he met some other people that were researching it and they're comparing notes and no, you have this wrong or, oh, I didn't know about this person. And there's like a lake somewhere named after someone in our family. But yeah, we thought it was like Scandinavian, but no, it's like German. Like it's not a super common name.
Right. Yeah, no, it's unusual. I had never seen it before. That's why I wanted to ask you about it. We've been chatting for a little while, but tell us what your superpowers are.
I've got a laundry list. Really, the only anything I understand, I can explain to anybody else, as long as I speak my language. I've worked with people 3 to 95, 94, and taken messy, complicated stuff and then make it make sense for them in a way that they get it and it expands what they can do with it.
I'm glad you're using the word they instead of men, because I think when I first encountered you on the internet, you pretty much were focusing on helping men. And I usually kind of avoid guests who specialize in women's issues or men's issues just because there are two different genders pretty much. And
Right.
I like to speak to people who kind of focus and pay attention to the fact that, we do not fly solo and that we rely on the other side of the
Absolutely.
world. So is that something that you've kind of transitioned away from, like focusing on men now to, like, you're talking about the theys instead of the hims?
Well, I do a lot for mostly men and some couples simply because 10 divorced dads a day end their lives. And it's 3 times more than women, which says there's still like 2 to 3 women a day ending their lives. Both of those are horrible statistics. The challenge is 80% of all personal development is bought by women. So they're willing to invest in their personal growth. They're willing to get information. They're willing to be more proactive. We can talk, what's driving all that and whatever. But for a lot of guys, they suffer in silence. They hit a point where instead of what I'm doing isn't working to get my result, they arrive at, I'm not good enough. I'm the problem. So I'm going to solve it for everyone by removing myself from the equation. And there are too many men that are just taking a permanent exit to what is essentially a temporary thing. And it's a conflict in their BS, their belief system. And if we change some of the belief or we change some of the strategy of the game that they're playing, we can create much different things. And for dads, when they remove themselves from life, their kids are now 40% more likely to end themselves, or their quality of life diminishes. They're more likely to get into risky behavior. They're more likely drugs, alcohol, porn, premature or premarital sex, childhood, pregnancy, younger, those sorts of things. Their quality of life is severely diminished. And so that's what I've gravitated over time, because originally I was working with kids in the martial arts school and then the parents, because the kids are fine. There's a leadership conflict between kids and parents because your kid doesn't think the way you do or they don't process the way you do. Let's clear that gap up, right? And I wrote a book on parenting and put a money back guarantee on it because stuff works if you play with it. But then I realized inside the couple, there's a leadership gap and there's conflict. And then I started doing a lot more on the parenting, and then I moved into couples, and then from couples over into men. And it's just been this slow evolution. For me, at my heart, I'm working with a kid inside everybody. And how do we get that kid into a safe, warm, big, happy place?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's peeling those layers of judgment and weaponization, struggle. Do you remember when life used to just be a little bit easier and more creative, and you would just call your friends up and say, hey, do you want to play? And it's like, why did we lose that?
Well, yeah, now you have to actually text somebody to ask if you can call them.
Right. Yeah.
Different world.
Yeah. Well, in your before our you were like, go listen to the show so you get an idea what we're all about. And so I did. And I went through a bunch of them, and I'm like, on one level, there's no rhyme or reason. It's all very organic. It's very adaptive to who you're working with. But as I watched several of them, you have a warmth and a love and a curiosity that comes through to just understand this common human condition. And for me, that's like the thing that came through the most was just your heart in these conversations. And I think that's what the world needs more of, right? Is real about real stuff to expand what's possible.
You were mentioning before about the high rate of suicide for men who are divorced and so on. Are we really talking about, statistically speaking, a younger demographic, maybe 20s, 30s, 40s, versus folks who are older, like myself, who are plagued by the suicidal ending of life thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it cuts all ages, actually. It's really, I mean, we've got kids as young as 8 trying to end themselves. And it's like, child, you haven't even begun to understand what's going on in the world. And for you to be in such a place of pain and limitation,
that's does a kid even get that? Where does a child even get the fact that suicide is an option, never mind a reality?
They're seeing some of it in common culture, right? Because as we as adults are having certain conversations, the kids are always making notes. And we have to be careful of what doors we open and what conversations we have. I had a client whose son at 6 years old was saying he wanted to hurt himself. He wished he wasn't alive. And they have no idea where he was getting these from. But he had had significant surgeries at a younger age, and he was mismatching with his peers. And he had taboo phrases that if he says it, all the adults pay attention to him. Now, does he really understand what he's saying? No, not really. But he knows the emotion that it engenders. He knows the reaction that it gets because everybody stops to pay attention to me. And that, when you're in a place of scarcity or deficit, feeling important, feeling like you matter, feeling like someone's noticing you, and then that starts to wear off, or people hear, the boy who cried wolf, and it's like, well, then you have to escalate your behavior to get more attention. I'm not saying this is like everyone's doing this, but this is one possible thread in this whole tapestry. And so, oh, this kid at school did this thing and everybody's talking about him now. Everyone's paying attention to him. And it comes back to, how are we feeding each other time, energy, attention? If we can't motivate it in positive ways, we will manipulate it in negative ways.
Have you noticed any difference in the demographic and the harm that they do to themselves since 2008 when the iPhone exploded on the scene and social media started to explode?
Keeping up with the Joneses has kind of always been a thing, but now it's happening at younger and younger ages, right? Our daughter recently, she was saying, oh, I have a crush on someone, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, well, what is a crush? I don't know. Like you like someone? Yeah, but there's liking someone, then there's liking them. Like, do you want to go off and hold their hands and make kissy faces? Ew. No? Okay, then honey, that's not a crush. You may have an infatuation, you may have an admiration for someone. That's different, right? And
do kids even get that? The splitting of hairs, do they even understand that?
Right, and that's why I asked the question about going off and making kissy face, because she's like, ugh. Like, she's not thinking about romantic type stuff and physical intimacy. Like, that's not on her radar at all. But she's watching like shows where, somebody's being shipped with somebody else. It's like, there's so much of life that's not about who's dating who. But if she's watching a lot of shows that's a meme, which is why we kind of keep tabs on what she's paying attention to. When I asked her about the go hold hands and go kissy face, she didn't go internal. She didn't start to imagine herself in that circumstance. She had an immediate, ugh. It's like, cool, she's not there yet, which is okay. And if she was, that's okay too, but that changes the type of conversation we have. And it's part of that. It's being able to read the feedback, not, freak out and we have to squash this. Like, give you an example. When I was a kid, they had the Time Life commercials for the albums, and they play all the music. And there was a song by the Rolling Stones, Brown Sugar. And I was just kitchening with my mom. We're doing dishes, and I'm just bebopping around, and I'm singing the song from the commercial, which is Brown Sugar, how come you taste so good, just like a young girl should. I'm not understanding those words at all, but I just know it, and I'm parroting it, except she flipped her lid and went to spank me and said, we don't say things like that, to something I'm just parroting. Her reaction was a lightning rod that made me start to analyze the words. Right. What did I just say that made her so upset? What do they mean, just like a young girl should? Like, I didn't understand that line, but I ignored it because I like brown sugar. I put it on my my oatmeal, right? Because I was thinking literal. I wasn't thinking figurative, right? She drove me to start to unpack that because she had this huge emotional response that made me start to pay more attention to what was going on. And if she had just been, hey, that's not really a cool song, why don't you sing this other song instead? Totally different reaction, right?
Well, that's very interesting take on that, because words have such great meaning to some. And like you said, a lot of emotional responses will happen. I was going to ask you exactly how you present yourself to the marketplace. How do they find you? How do you market yourself?
Yeah, so I call it consulting, like men's consulting, lead like a king, men's consulting. And the reason I do that is just how most people use coaching, very broad messaging, very broad interpretations. And how I mean it and how I utilize it is a little different because I'm very much results focused and time focused, right? Oh, I've had my coach for 5 years. Oh, cool. So you should be blah, blah, blah. Because it's like, they're not really working at a high level. They're more attention to than your friends or family, but you're not really accountable to getting a result. But if you were a coach for a football player and you weren't producing measurable improvement in the game, they would get rid of you and get a new person in. So that's why I tend to say consultant more, because I'm here to, as a guide on the side, to help you get to your results faster.
Sure.
And the way I say it, it's real simple. I work with business owner dads, usually 40 plus, who are also husbands, and they want to feel solid in three main areas: life, love, and leadership. And no guesswork, no guilt, no giving up who they are. And typically it's through podcasts, it's through referrals and recommendations. I know somebody who has a friend who's struggling in some way. And hey, it looks like you got a lot on your plate. I have a guy you might want to talk to, might be able to help make that easier for you. Would it be okay with you if I set up an introduction? And that's usually how I meet people. And it's tell me what's going on.
So I guess the primary bulk of what you do is just like this. It's video conferencing and counseling that way.
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. And so that's really exploded since COVID, right?
definitely.
So what do you think about, all the 20-year-olds who exploded after COVID, who became coaches and digital nomads and all of the things that are just crazy for people with little or any experience?
We were at a Tony Robbins event, and my wife met a couple of 22-year-olds who are going to become business coaches because it sounds interesting. Cool. Have you been in business? No. Okay. Do you know anything about business? No, but it looks cool. And it's, on some level, it's buyer beware. Watch yourself. I see all kinds of things that will get you millions of views. And then you click on the thing and like they have 3 followers and their videos have like 10 views. And it's like, so you don't use your own stuff? Opportunity is there, right? Anybody can say anything about anything. What's the bona fides? What's the have you worked with? Who can I talk to? Like, do I have a strong vibe? Some of it may be appropriate. If you're a mind who's in email marketing and has produced some massive results, and he's a young guy, he's in his mid-20s, late-ish 20s now. But it's a level technology, it's a high level leverage skill set. He knows what he's doing, but he's been working like since 16. So it's like, oh, he's actually got 10 years in the business. Oh, okay. See, when you got some street cred here versus, oh, I just read a thing and I'm going to teach how to be a badass boss babe.
A lot of those influencers have a wonderful body form and fantastic rack, and that gets them all the views and the likes and the followers that you and I, speaking a little bit of truth, can't get.
Nope. Yeah. How
do you reconcile that?
I mean, part of it is it's not my avatar, and I'm not for mass appeal. I don't have a savior archetype that I'm like trying to, you like me, you don't, not really my business, it's yours. If I have something of value that's useful to you, then please utilize it. And I'm not here to be for everyone. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I do realize, yeah, if I was 20-something girl with, a body that I was willing to show off, could make so much money on OnlyFans, it's ridiculous.
Right.
If that is like, is that an empowering thing? Depends on the person.
It's very short term if it is.
Yeah, well, it can be. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's people, adult entertainment in their 50s and 50s that are still in great shape. And again, I'm not here to judge anyone. It's like, there's obviously a market for it. There's obviously a need. But to your point, is it sustainable? Is it a model that you can continue for very long? And if not, what are you going to do instead?
Something like 30 or 40% of kids under 16 years old, when asked what they want to be when they grow up, they answered influencers. I didn't even know that was available.
Like, there are barriers to entry now because it's become so saturated. And that's kind of like, I forget who wrote it or who said it. All marketers are liars and marketers ruin everything, right? Because like Purple Cow, right? Free price inside Purple Cow. But once everybody has a purple cow, suddenly a brown cow becomes outstanding. If you have the right avatar, you can craft a message that's going to catch their attention and speak them in a way that's going to take them somewhere. And there's always going to be that bell curve in the middle of just mass consumption, everybody do the thing, and there's always going to be outliers, either as a warning or an example. And in an open society, that stuff is going to move and morph, but those truisms don't go away. I had a college professor who came over during the 1960s from China, and he still has a massive, thick Chinese accent. And he realized that a lot of the hippies who say they were free thinkers were actually just following a different set of mores, but they were still following their parents' values. Because he was like free love and we don't have to do this and that. And so like he didn't bathe and he did a bunch of stuff. And some of his hippie friends gave him a bottle of Head and Shoulders to take care of his dandruff. And that kind of revealed to him, he's like, you really haven't recreating society. You're not really doing anything major. You're just rejecting some of the control your parents have that you don't like, but you're still basically your parents. And there are a few true creative free thinkers, but a lot of people were just that mass in the middle following the trend that Gladwell talks about in The Tipping Point.
I see that you also have a YouTube channel. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell everyone what that is.
Yeah, so a lot of guys struggle. A lot of guys don't want to ask for help. So my wife and I started going through and putting together some trainings and some content and some perspectives to just widen the conversation about what's possible. Like what if suffering was self-generated and optional and you could choose not to participate? If you're in a relationship and you're struggling, do you have a relationship vision? Do you have what I call a 5 to thrive? Do you have a list of what's in balance? And it's like no relationship vision, no set of standards. I wonder why you're struggling. I mean, try to run a business like that. It won't work. And so we went through and just creating different commentary, different discussions, different entry points into how can you improve the quality of your life? And then some of that leads to like I've got an intimacy course if you're not getting enough time and energy in the bedroom. But it's not like here's how to trick your partner. It's really about getting out of trying to align desire, because that's like this. You know, you've got one person who's vacillating and one person is like, oh, I really want you. Well, I really want you. But then you throw kids in, and you throw career in, and like there's all these things that can just deplete you. Cool. How about you provide opportunities to connect with each other? Provide opportunities for intimacy. And how can you begin to co-create that where it becomes this intentionality? Because for a lot of people, their passion is based on distance and desire, which are not always up to their control. And so it's a hit or miss. And it's like, well, you don't have to stay in a sexless marriage. You could leave the marriage or you could leave the sexless part, your choice. So how do we do that? And take the stigma and the guilt and the shame out of it. Because done properly, your marriage could be like an endless sleepover with your best friend and you get to be weird with each other and have sex. Hey, like that could be the thing. It could be fun. It doesn't have to be this battleground or all these weapons and stuff. And so in the YouTube channel, we explored a variety of topics and a variety of perspectives. The other thing I found out, a lot of guys aren't looking for how to be a better husband. Like they look for solutions to specific problems, not general areas.
That's kind of specific to the male, isn't it?
Yeah. But like I would do keyword searching and how to be a better husband. 0 searches on that phrase, period. And it's like, oh, wow, that's Google and YouTube both saying, nope.
Nothing doing.
Yep. Yeah. So it was fascinating to start looking at some of the keywords of like, what are guys actually looking for when it comes to things and in a general sense. And it's much more transactional. How do I solve this problem versus systemic? How do I remove the problem from even beginning there in the first place? I work with guys that are usually 40 plus because like they're at the point where I don't want to waste my time. They're looking for solutions and strategies that they can implement. Let's go. Where guys in their 20s, I don't care. Guys in their 30s, I'll figure it out. 40s plus, can we do this faster? Can we do this easier? If you had $1 million horse, would you let it stay awake until 2 a.m. eating pizza and drinking beer as much as it could? Probably not. Bad investment for $1 million horse. We have $1 billion brain. And how are we treating it? Are we treating it, abusing it, or are we fueling it? And I'm still eating like we've had, we have steak and we have chicken and we have pork and we have salmon and we have mussels and we have snails. Like we're still eating really great food, but we can do the snails instead of butter, we can use ghee, right? So we just take the dairy piece out of it, but so we can still eat really delicious stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's also energizing because like you eat a bunch of food and then you got to go like, I need to take a nap from all the food I ate. It's like, are you enriching and vitalizing yourself or are you depleting yourself? Right. And so it's like paying attention to that and being conscious. It's okay to zag sometimes. When every day is a zag, it's like, oh, and that's kind of like we're seeing it now because like my throat has thinned out and my knee hurt as much like it was hurting for a while. It's like, oh, am I getting bursitis? Or maybe, or you're just carrying too much weight for your frame. How about that?
Sounds like you're on a great road.
Yeah, let's work on it.
That's good. Everything in moderation, even excess, right?
Yeah, even pokes in the eye. All right,
Yeah,
that's good for the year. I'm good.
What about your tattoos? Tell us about those.
None. I was born with birthmarks. I have total nerd moment, but I have the stigmata vitiligo on both wrists, both ankles, and my belly, but it's reversed.
What part of Florida are you in?
We are in Fort Lauderdale.
Do you dig Florida?
After 40 years of Ohio and Ohio winter, yes.
And it mainly for the weather, it's sounding like.
More than like, yeah, it's the weather. The cost of living here is, we're not huge fans of politics. My opinion is anyone who wants power probably shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
It's usually problematic.
It's a good point.
Yeah, if you want power and control, it ages you and it damages you. So why do you need that or feel or believe you need that?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That's part of my life as a consultant. When I work with my clients, I don't tell them what the answer is because I don't know. It's not my life. It's not my consequences. But I have some really good questions to help you find the clarity for yourself because you've got to do what is sustainable in your life. Right. And you know, mine may not be your answer. I am a monster in some ways. Like I trained as a Kung Fu student, I was training 7 days a week for like 15 years before I realized, oh, this isn't balanced. Like we talk about balance, but we don't live it. Because like, if you don't come into the Kung Fu school or you don't work where I worked, I wouldn't know who you were because that's all I did was I worked and I Kung Fu and I didn't do anything else. And it took 15 years to realize, oh, I'm not balanced. I should go do other things.
Right.
You know, I needed that time. I call it the time in the temple. I needed that to kind of build myself up after I had as a child that I needed to heal. But then once you get there, it's like, cool, now what are you going to do with it? Where are you going to go with it? Right. And that's always for me, the thing you do is cool. But what's the purpose or the point beyond it, above it, behind it, below it, beneath it? Where's it taking you? Taking others? Is it sustainable? It's a good and it's a nice flex, but ultimately it's just a moment and then you've got other things, right? So I'm always looking for that ecology, whether it's for my clients or myself. And so it's like, I'm not here to tell you, man, but I have some ways to make it simpler.
That's good. People love simple. Convenience is killer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Plug in. I have a thing I put together called Finally Getting Your Kids to Listen. And in part of that course, I teach parents to realize there's actually 4 ways people communicate and learn. There's seeing, there's hearing, there's feeling, and there's thinking. And if you've got a kid who's auditory, but you're visual, there's a mismatch. Or if you're auditory as a parent and your kid is visual, you can tell them what to do and how to do it in the clearest terms possible. But if they can't see the mental picture, they'll never get you. And that's not a character flaw in them, and it's not you need to get louder. It's change modalities.
Right. Learning styles are somewhat like love styles. Everyone has different types.
Exactly. I did this presentation for some teachers at an intervention specialist in tears because I explained these 4 ways and what to look for and what to listen for. And she's like, I never heard this before. How do you know this? And I'm like, well, part of my life is a hypnotherapist, but bigger part is as a kid, I didn't ever feel understood. So I figured out how to understand other people first. Yeah.
Jeremy, tell everyone where we can find you if we want to hang out with you a little bit.
Absolutely. I am the only Jeremy Roadruck on the internet. So just Google me. I am not shy. I'm most active on Facebook, Jeremy R. The Kung Fu Guy. I have Lead Like a King community. I've got a book coming out here soon with a course on leading like a king and walking through roadmap to relationship mastery. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm not shy, and I'm here to help and share perspective.
Very cool. Your books, show one.
Here we go. So, Your Best Child Ever. Is This Game Worth Winning? The only parenting book with a money-back guarantee right there on the cover.
Very
I wrote
cool.
This single date, not dating, no kids, not married. But I had 17 and a half years of working with kids, and I kept seeing these same patterns, these same games.
Yeah.
And the story drives the game. Cool. Well, here's how to start mastering games. And I actually lay out in here, games only have 4 variables. All human behavior only fits inside that box of these 4 variables. Once you get that, you start realizing the sequence, right? The first one is space, boundaries, room to breathe. Because if people don't have physical room to breathe or mental or emotional or spiritual or financial room to breathe, you will get a very predictable pattern of pushback because they are not in a mood to thrive. They are in survival and they will fight to the death or they'll knuckle under and die. And so it's like, if you can create room for people to breathe and just create those boundaries and be like, hey, it's okay. Thank you for the feedback. I'm glad you made that clear. Look, I don't want to pressure you. I want to be clear with you and I want to be on the same page with you. And just that, establishing a clear boundary with someone, and it's like, I'm not pressing in, but I'm not abandoning you. Okay, we can build here. And so that's like a beginning of that whole conversation. The other one, this is the review copy as I'm working through, but Lead Like a King, Proven Roadmap to Mastering Marriage, Deeper Connection, and Unstoppable Leadership. And I took 51 case studies with past clients and I mapped it into this 9-step roadmap to relationship mastery. And every single case study has 3 action steps. It's here's things you could do on this case study. So 153 ways to make your life better, different, explore. And if you need more support or want to go specific, the course is 9 modules. It's a deeper dive on each of those 9. You can do it in 9 hours, 9 days, 9 weeks, 9 months, 9 years, whatever makes you happy. But it's designed as a self-study course because a lot of people want support. They want a step to follow, but they don't want to ask for help. Okay, cool. No one has to know you bought the book. No one has to know that you're taking the course. I respect your privacy. I'm not here to flex. I need you to go tell the world what we did. A lot of my clients, they're all anonymous. Mr. AB, Mr. BC, like they're all identity protected because there's some high powered people in there with real, here's the presenting problem and here's the journey we went on. This is real conversations. You've got dads facing terminal diagnosis, dad with a kid facing a terminal diagnosis, and everyone in his life is just falling apart because, well, what do you do? And I'm like, he's not dead yet. You're not dead yet. So let's use this. Like, let's use the tab. You're still relatively healthy. Let's do something with it. Where everyone else just feels bad because they're projecting themselves into what they would do in that situation, and I'm not doing that. Like, we're all going to die. Like, that's not, life is a death sentence. Some of us are just off schedule. Sorry about your luck.
Right.
So anyway, the time that you have, what do you want to do with it? Like what can we do with it? You're going to miss your son's milestones. Cool. What would you want to tell him? What do you want him to know? Let's record that stuff because we've got YouTube. We've got vehicles now to stuff. You can be a part of your son's life. You can give him important life lessons. Even if you're not there physically, you can still have an impact. But let's get on this, dude.
You bet. Yeah. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me here on 50 Tastes of Great today.
My pleasure. I love what you're doing with the show, and I love the way we play with the God and the conversations you guys have. It's really a beautiful thing.
Thank you, man. I love the people, and I love just doing this,
Yeah, it comes through.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy.
Yep, Matthew, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Same here. Take care.
All right, you too.
Aloha.
Aloha. I'm like, where do I leave?